This body, my body that moves in routine every day for me, that rarely complains how I praise you. Heartbeat like the wiwit of the indigenous peoples, held with one hand, banged on by the other. Toes that feel the earth and vibrate with her, and like an empath, they cry, releasing her sorrow. Skin that changes with the seasons and through every orbit around the sun, how I praise you. This body who acts as home for others, and with gratitude they tend to every inch of it. Lips to lobe, lips to inner thigh, lips to the freckle of my left breast, how they praise you too. Thank you. So as you know, I had previously mentioned if I wasn't sick and stuck at home, I would have been over in San Diego for my nephew's first birthday. So I wanted to read this poem. It's titled Moon Poem. 1. My mama told me once that there's a correlation between miscarriages and the moon. Years pass. On the day after a triple-charged new moon and on the summer solstice of the pandemic year, I prove her theory. 2. My 92-year-old grandmother says women go into labor when there is a new moon. She heard the nurses of the labor and delivery unit once say this, expecting higher than normal traffic. A day passes. My sister becomes a mama. Thank you. So I'll move over. This poem is titled, I Grew Up Going to La Pulga. I grew up going to La Pulga every Sunday where my grandparents sold planchas y escobas, cantaritos y vestidos de ballet folklorico, sewn by fingers that pushed colorful fabric across 32-stitch machine. My grandma's foot pressed lightly against the pedal in intervals. In Mexico, my grandmother was a nurse. I grew up going to La Pulga and sitting on buckets flipped over while tapping my feet to the music blaring from neighboring booths that sold bootleg NB Ridas CDs. I grew up going to La Pulga where one could find a pair of fresh botines or first communion gifts, fruta picada, or caged birds for sale. When us kids wanted spending money, our parents would send us to La Pulga to help our grandparents. All the primos were first introduced to business in this manner, or perhaps survival. I grew up going to La Pulga, observing men cologned and suited in tejanas, wearing their ladies on their arm. Later, they'd dance a quebradita at the Friday night baile. My grandma had nicknames for every regular here. El Jotito, Doña Piojos, La Señora de los Raspados. It was at La Pulga when attending to my grandparents' customers where I learned that my Spanish skills were at a level of someone considered to be pocha. I grew up going to La Pulga where my domingo, a term for allowance, would be spent at the toy vendor booth, once earned after a long day's hard work. Thank you. And that kind of maybe also explains why now I'm an account manager, as you had mentioned. I think I'll read one or two more, and then we have about 15 and 20. So this is titled Why I Refuse to Celebrate the Opening of the 6th Street Bridge. Because of carbon emissions and fossil fuels, because of the rich profiting sitting behind their desks, because of the oil that seeps into the asphalt and then into the ocean, because the money invested could be redirected, because this bridge will provide housing for the unhoused, but the politicians still will not, because there are hungry bellies living inside every structure of Los Angeles, because this bridge only feeds the machine, because of overpopulation, because the George Washington Bridge supports nearly 102 million vehicles every year, and because the total cost of the Golden Gate Bridge was equivalent to $704.9 million in our time, because inevitably this bridge will also support suicides and make news headlines, because this bridge will host road rage, and this road rage is the least obvious form of internalized patriarchy and capitalism, because this bridge sits on indigenous stolen land. Thank you. I will wrap up with this poem titled How to Reimagine America. It was in the Reimagine America anthology by Vagabond Press. Turn back to its origins, earth, water, wind, and fire. Call it by its name, Turtle Island. Ask its pronouns, ask for consent, listen to its trees and its bird songs, and realize that there are many Americas, North, Central, and South America, but that simultaneously we are one America. Rid it of its pipelines and its oil train terminals, undress it like you do your lover in hushed bedrooms. Start at its colonial border wall. Watch it slowly bring it down like a pair of Victoria's Secret panties, then move your attention to its prison systems. Better yet, uncage everyone, remove its monuments of white supremacy like we're having a store closing sale. Replace them with more trees. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. And I look forward to hearing the other poets coming up. Thanks.
I will say after hearing Briana that I changed my whole set. So, but I do want to, I mean, Halloween's coming soon and I don't know if I definitely won't be reading for you in October, Jerry. So I'm going to share this one. It's called Zombies Run 10Ks. Tonight, open up your mouths and let the world hear your pain. Go ahead and cry. Everyone is wearing their mask. Tonight, Boy Blue will let Roy G. Biv rest on his tongue to taste the rainbow. Tonight, roadkill looks cool, smells like skunk kush. Bats are welcome to swing on my porch. Beautiful witches beg bluntly toting hand-stitch sacks. Those naughty witches, the ones you know by name, spread their legs to strap on broomsticks and harvest spent seeds with sweet street weed, Cali sage, scented hair. Girls in jack-o'-lantern candlelight, coy, young again, gently stuffed with candy. All right. Let's see. I'll get to the poems that were inspired by Briana soon, but this is brand new. I've been meeting with California Poets in the Schools writing group every Wednesday. And this is from a recent prompt. It's called Atari 2600. The thick black silicone soft joystick grip fits well in his small hand. He cocks the hermaphroditic controller left and right, up and down, clockwise, counterclockwise, all the while thumbing the divot of the springy red action button. He does this for hours. Wiping sweat from his eyes, he makes 8-bit spaceships pew, pew, pew in euphoric entertainment. Outside, girls pull each other's hair in the street. They pluck dandelions from his yard, pucker their chapstick, root beer, or cherry-flavored lips, and blow wishes that he'd come out to play. But he is so good at video games. Not the games they play. Still only palm calloused, not ready to play with his heart. Thank you. All right, let's move into poems inspired by Briana. Whoa, I'm at 2 minutes and 43 seconds. I'm just banging through here. All right, I'll read a little bit more slowly. No, let's see. The body poem. This one, the body poem. It made me pull this poem out. It's called This Is My Body. 1. He was cute. I mean, blind eyes, the blue of the Blessed Virgin Mary's mantle made the professor, noosed by scarlet velvet, too pretty to call handsome. He sat crowding the crotch of his denim blue jeans, smiling. I watched my wife dance in her wedding gown, the last woman I thought of before placing myself in the cups of his hands to commune. 2. The driver's license he handed me indicated he was Javier James Tomas, age 37, eyes brown, height 6'3", or incredible in bed for a few more years, still a baby. I'd stare down on him, down on me, looking up into me, wavering eyes, opening and closing prayers for grace and mercy. His height suggested his length, and I would have 3 different names to moan while picturing whomever I wanted. Example, ay, Javesito. Oh, right there, Javier. That's so good, James. Así Tomas. Okay, make it 4. 3. After taking little sips off of it, he licked those thick lips of his wet, set it on his tongue hard, like he had something to prove. I hope he remembers how I stretched and bruised his lips each time he tasted sacramental wine. Okay, bridge poem. Here I come. Thank you, Briana. You made. I don't know. Maybe, hopefully this is working out. But I love this inspiration, so I'm gonna keep going with this poem. It's called "Watch Him Fall Forever." If you are God's son, jump. He will tell his angels to catch you in their arms. You will not hurt your feet on the stones below. Luke 4:13. Graveyard, odd, day, part-time, night, moonlight, hand, blow, whack. He would have taken any job he could get. And she looked like a piece of work, legs longer than he had left in hours, skirt shorter than he measured upright in the crotch of his 33s. She seemed young, new to the profession, probably sucked fewer pricks than she smoked fags. She took a drag, tore her nylons to keep them from looking snagged, ratted her hair to keep it from getting messy, and smiled at him as she walked by. And this was not the chance in life that he had been waiting for, but he would take what he could get, so he reached into his pocket, pressed his back against the warm brick wall of the abandoned church, and prayed to rub his copper against her silver skin. When he looked up, she was gone. So he staggered down the street, downing the only bottle of booze he could buy with chump change, dragging the lipstick-tipped cigarette spit from her lips. He pinched it between his teeth as though it were one of her perky nipples, rolled over it, stabbed at it, flicked until the filter broke up and his and her saliva flooded to the back of his throat. He hacked, dark brown splat against gray concrete. He wiped the side of his mouth with the back of his hand and looked around to see who noticed, but nobody did. Everyone was in a hurry, going nowhere. So he rounded the corner quick, turning 40 if he could only sip more smog into his lungs, but he's felt dead inside for years. So he scoped the 101, watched cars from the overpass, hoping this past sunrise was his last, and he searched for a place to get to the end of his days, to cut to the chase, because the cuts in his arms didn't do the job. And maybe if he could have found one, he'd still have his kids, his car, his house, his dog, and his old lady too. I'm telling you, standing up there looking down, jumping seemed like the only thing left to do. Seven minutes? Really? What? I hope it doesn't feel like 20 minutes like it feels to me, to you. All right. Keep it going. I'll keep it going. Directions. Yeah, if you grow up, if you live in LA, you know what I'm talking about with this poem. But it was a different time, I swear, the area that I'm referring to in this poem feels so gentrified. Like if I tell people I grew up in a tough neighborhood, they would never believe me. They'd drive through the neighborhood and go, wow, it must have been rough out here getting your pumpkin spice latte at the coffee shop around the corner instead of all the drug dealings and crazy things that were going on in this area. But this is called Directions. Descend through opaque smog and explode into an aerial view of Los Angeles. Dodge skyscrapers and swerve between parked cars headed south on the 405, exit Century Boulevard and stop for a red light. A transient will drool over his bloated tongue, black gums, and spit between the gap of his front teeth into a soiled tube sock. Wipe your eyes and your feet until the world seems a little brighter. The spit shine cleaner will stick out the lighter side of his hand for change, but the light will turn green. And with your glorious ass to him, he'll make two fists, every jagged fingernail digging into the palms of his hands except for his thumbs and middle fingers, and he'll jab those at the dirty brown sky, then at you. But you won't see him. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, my computer is acting up. Take a left, then another past a man selling bundles of roses from an island, gabachos and designer business suits trading limp presidents for warm tamales, a boy selling oranges packed in pillowcase-sized clear plastic bags, past kids selling drugs from street corners, girls selling themselves from sidewalk curbs. You won't see your reflection in the liquor store window cracked up and wise, but you might find my placazo on the old brick building where spray paint crosses out descendants on the graffiti family tree of La Raza. Ignore the homeless woman sitting with 5 children under the age of 4 by the adult bookstore. I need you. Rise back up off the streets, over the houses, watch for planes roaring by, beginning their descent into LAX, perch on the telephone pole tagged LNX. I'll be in the house there, in my room, on my knees, searching for the toy my abuelita said I'd never find until I asked you to forgive me for not believing in you. Oh, all right. I am at 11 minutes. What is going on? This is the most, I've never read this many poems in this short amount of time. I must be going super fast. Well, this is a long poem and it's an experimental poem, but I will say that it's based on an actual event. And I think I wrote this poem like last year, March or so, and I just saw it pop into the news again. And a lot of times when I write poems about social injustice or just racial tensions or whatever it may be, a lot of people will challenge the fact that they believe that I'm creating fictional events. And oh, that didn't happen. That couldn't have happened. But this is one of those, this is a story that's true. And it's like an hour-long video and it's painful to watch. But this is called East Silver Spring Elementary School. And I believe I'll close with this one. It should take about 3 minutes. So thank you all for listening. I really appreciate everybody being here. Thank you, Jerry, for having me. Buckle up, here we go. Nobody's saying nothing about the white lady that let the 5-year-old boy wander off campus. Tells the cops the cars don't stop at the crosswalk, she watches them cross. Says it's not the first time she watched him wander off. So the 2 officers terrorize the black boy, call him a little beast. Tell the 5-year-old he should be beat 9 times before he gets home. Officer tells the scared little 5-year-old black boy she's gonna ask his mama if she could do the beating. Officer tells the scared little crying 5-year-old black boy, nobody wants to hear you cry. Nobody's even listening. And the police officer reminds him, this ain't your world, little 5-year-old, little black boy, little beast. Nobody's saying nothing about the white lady that let the 5-year-old boy wander off campus. Tells the cops the cars don't stop at the crosswalk, she watches him cross. Says it's not the first time she watched him wander off. Officer smiles at the white lady and says, this is why parents should beat their kids, then grabs the scared little crying 5-year-old black boy by the shoulders, slams the scared little crying 5-year-old black boy into the chair. And this police officer that's bigger than any county fair prize-winning pig starts screaming in his face, screams in his face some more. And it's taking everything for this police officer to keep from beating the scared little crying 5-year-old black boy. She screams in his face again. Oh my God, I beat you so bad. Screams in his face louder, making smacking sounds, punching her fist into her palm, shouts in his face again so loudly. Other teachers leave their class to see what's going on. Police officer says they should put the little beast in a crate. Says she wonders how someone so small could act like this. And once the body cam is off, the scared little crying 5-year-old black boy screams louder than she did. And nobody's saying nothing about the white lady that let the scared little crying 5-year-old black boy wander off campus. Told the cops the cars don't stop where she watches him cross the crosswalk. Says it's not the first time she watches him wander off. And the white lady is blaming it on the mom. And the police officer is blaming it on the mom. Calls the scared crying little 5-year-old black boy a shepherd for the devil. Warns the scared little crying 5-year-old black boy, when you get older, when you want to make your own decision, you know what's going to be your best friend? The police officer puts handcuffs on the scared little crying 5-year-old black boy's wrist. And nobody's saying nothing about the white lady that let the scared little crying 5-year-old black boy wander off campus. Told the cops the cars don't stop where she watches him cross the crosswalk. Says it's not the first time she's watched him wander off that way. And when the mom walks in the room, she takes the scared little crying 5-year-old black boy's shirt off to show that the boy is not being physically abused. And the police officer says, that's the problem. And the white lady says, that's the problem. The police officer teaches the mother how to beat her son. But garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and the police officer teaches the mother how to beat her son, but the mother tells them she doesn't want to. Yet the police officer insists, says, just don't use a weapon. Put your knee on his neck if you need to. Nah, he didn't say that. That was another police officer trying to teach a crying black man begging for his mother a lesson. Just don't leave any scars. Just don't have any witnesses. Make sure his hands are up and his back is to you before you shoot. Make sure you got a badge like this one on. No, I got it wrong again. That was another police officer disciplining a scared Black boy wandering down the street, and nobody is saying nothing about the white lady that let the scared little crying 5-year-old Black boy wander off campus. Told the cops the cars don't stop, where she watches him cross the crosswalk. Says it's not the first time she's watched him wander off that way. Nobody's saying nothing. How could she have done anything wrong? She's always white.
Yeah, thank you. I love participating in readings because of the different perspectives and the different passions that bring us to write and to put it out there, So hi, Shitty. So today is apparently National Daughters Day, and I have 2 beautiful daughters. So this is called Moms and Daughters. A woman who knows the ropes isn't likely to get tied up. Mae West. She was my mama's favorite. The glamour, curves, sexuality, unapologetic. I think of my mother every day. I hold us all close, us mothers and daughters. My arms, the complexity of Saturn's rings. I hear her words. She comforts me. Everything is going to be okay, mi cielo. I quote her. He's not worth the salt in your tears. I wrote, I have a collection of work called The Other Side of Pretty. And I was born in East LA and I moved to Malibu. So it's East LA Stories and Malibu Tales. So the East LA stories kind of jump around at different ages. And this one is East LA Stories, 12 years old, Maria Elena and George. He's just blowing your mind, the ex-girlfriend told his new love interest. The ex-girlfriend, an 8th grader, a whole year and a lifetime wiser. She wore her Catholic school uniform skirt rolled up, showing slender junior high legs shaved with her dad's double-edged stainless steel razor. Black and white Oxfords were polished perfectly and crew socks folded neatly to the ankles. Her mom was an Avon lady, and on any given day, she smelled of sweet honesty perfume. Told us all how she'd spray it in the air and walk through it like the new drive-through car wash in Montebello. He was the guy that everyone swooned for, from 1st to 8th grade, even Sister Catherine Mary. Half Mexican and Italian, he filled his uniform pants more like Mike Connors, Jim Rockford, and the future Tony Manero combined. Confident, curious, masculine, Black hush puppies took him across the asphalt schoolyard, each step cutting through the sepia smog, past the tetherball poles to talk to his group of short, skinny, chubby friends. She was only in 7th grade, but her straight A's had the principal place her in studies with the 8th graders. Her trademark long Black braids fell below the peachy folder she held to her chest. Her shoes were scuffed and her white uniform shirt untucked from an early morning dodgeball game. Stupid, what are you doing here? The insult started. Wrigley mint gum snapping against school policy. Her skin, typically the color of the gardenias in her mother's garden, blushed. Her long black lashes pointed down, looking for a place to sit through her peripheral vision. Sit next to me, he said, doing a scoot over to emphasize his point, patting the desk next to him, and she did. He would speak to her low enough for no one else to hear. An entire protected universe, instant and private. You should wear your hair down. And the next day she did. And the day after that, her hair unbound, thick ebony waves cascading with the scent of Prel. the ends bouncing just past her waist. She didn't care if he was blowing her mind or not. None of it mattered when he began to walk her home. Okay. East LA stories, fake ID age. Frankie, please forget me not. He sang into my ear as he held me in the heated pool. A boombox, a mixtape, the intentionality of pressing play. The sun was kind on that California winter day, and the east side of LA is the dreamy weather those songs are made of. My legs were tempted to wrap around his slender waist, but they didn't. And the two of us still somehow buoyed in rhythm to the music, as we had the weekend before when we met and danced well into the last call. In the daylight, I realized his body that had moved effortlessly in sync with mine under colored lights, had seen many hours in the gym I passed after I entered the code into his building. His skin was naturally caramel. It made his green eyes shine with a really huge promise, but I wasn't convinced. It would take more than his enthusiasm and a barbecue with his best friends on our first date. It would take more than a song with my name switched into it, lyrics of flowers he never gave me. I timed myself, so I'm just gonna go through it. Malibu, Leo Carrillo on Tuesday. Pelicans dived bomb for food all day. The kelp garden floated calmly, while dolphins danced in swirls. The sun is setting after lighting the water, diamond shards of brilliance. My ear is warm after a sourful winter, the phone cradled on my shoulder, blossoming. Where did the pelicans go with bellies full? Will it be warm tomorrow? Malibu, supermoon. Supermoon dominates the sky. Blue or black, we choose the setting. Super love, hurt, super understanding, not since forever, and will repeat in decades. Lips kissed, flawed and surprised. Rest well as our mothers caress our foreheads. Malibu at night from bed. The waves crash hard, demanding. Sage burns in every corner. The moon lowers itself, incomplete and swollen. Surrender, give love to the hurtful places. It could be you. I am, let's see, I was living in Malibu and it was pandemic time. And my beautiful granddaughter passed away. And this is for her. This is called, her name is Estrella, Easter Star. Today you'd fit into the dress with the watermelons that hangs in my closet. We'd get you baskets of chocolate you wouldn't eat and large stuffed animals that would get frayed. I'd hold you while your parents swam, take too many pictures, you smiling, crying, napping. We'd blend organic veggies for you, change your poopy diaper, wipe your face of spit up gently. Instead, you live in my gohonzon with all the other great Buddhas. Protect us when we take chances in our cars. You burn a love in your mother, her choice to live or die every second of every day. You gently hug me in the sun rays. I chant until I hear you. I love you through infinite pathways. I'll recognize you when I see you again. I patiently wait until then. And then the pandemic happened and there was this whole shelter in place thing. I'm Buddhist, by the way, so that's all encompassing in my Buddhist practice, the previous one. I do this every Thursday, shelter in place. I will wear an N95 mask for you, share all of my quarantine food with you, wash my hands 1,000 times for you, share my unlimited data with you. I'll accompany you on a walk 6 feet away from you, foot bump hello and goodbye with you. I'll Zoom and FaceTime anytime with you. Send all of my virtual love to you. Play music and dance close if you want me to. Eat meals carefully made by you. Listen your dreams right out of you. Call them things I heard you say about you. This is called Homegrown. Homegrown East Side bad boys walk proud brown legs inside creased baggy jeans. Wide smile, just shy of a laugh. Cute names, I like to say Bobby and Danny, who tell inside jokes that don't make sense to me. Dance slow, pull close, bad side boys, homegrown East, clean pressed, smell like Tide and cologne. Greet and kiss their mothers in Spanish. Sleep chest covered in white t-shirts, double layered over hearts. And this last one, because I did time myself, and this is something I wrote recently, I don't know, the discipline of writing Jerry was talking about. It comes and it goes. It's inspired for me. So anyway, I woke up, I recently moved to a place where it's beautiful and by the ocean, at the ocean, and I got up to see the sunrise, and this is what came out. So thank you for being here today. And this was very recently, after our heat wave. The sun was shy this morning. Maybe it's coming to work late today. Maybe the sun is exhausted or tired of being called nasty names for all the misery it's caused in the past few weeks. 6:35 a.m. coffee, my eyes seek the horizon covered by gray puffs. The light reveals a lone swimmer who'd been there since dark. I envy their freedom, fearlessness, foolishness. I fear the vastness, anything past the breaking waves, but I'm compelled to be here. Worry is a bad habit I've been trying to shake since I grew up. Age 18, I could talk any friend with a car to leave the East Side parties or clubs, drive north on the 101, exit Sunset, and wind our way to the water. After a while, they'd put firewood and lighter fluid in their trunks before a Saturday night out with me, just in case. I didn't care that I missed my strict mama's curfew, or that the tide soaked my clothes with sand, or when my perfectly blow-dried hair became a mess of swirl and the wind erased any trace of Maybelline and CoverGirl. I didn't care about homework or chores. I didn't have bills. I would plant my feet on the shore, let the tide rush them, and be transported somewhere while standing in the same place, free, fearless, foolish. Thank you so much.
I like the way you mix the, it's kind of a, your Buddhism and sense of place and your homegirl all together. You and I shared kind of a business, we're kind of in the Venn diagram of you and me, put us matching in certain places. And how did you handle the work of writing poetry and the crazy 24-hour job you do?
You know, I have learned to leave work at work. I've learned when to cut it off, because sacrificing my creativity is, you know, kind of cheating my soul. And I'm just not willing to do that. And when I moved to Malibu, I became a Buddhist. You know, I'm a girl from East LA who moved to Malibu, became a vegan, you know, started practicing Buddhism, right? And but you know, that's work is always there. Stories, if we don't capture them, they're gone and we forget about them. And I really am very committed in all aspects of my life to leave a legacy for both my daughters and their children and their children's children. So it's, yeah, it's that commitment.